so afraid of looking at my transactions right now. I know that I'm earning well, but I don't know, I'm not becoming wealthy. I'm not being rich. I'm still dependent on every 30th or every first. There's no like enough liquid amount to fall upon. Hi, Lucky. Welcome back.
Hi, Ria. Thank you.
I would love to talk to you and pick your mind on the most important topic of the hour,
Okay.
where there's a lot of content out there, yet there is no proper literacy,
Okay.
which is finance.
Okay.
There are tons of people, including myself, who makes good amount of money every month. But as soon as the money comes in, I don't know how it goes out. I don't know where it goes out. I don't know how many platforms I'm subscribed to. I don't know how my credit card bills are, messed up. There's a lot of things that I really want to ask you, and especially people who have a lot of EMIs and all of it. So, how do you take care of your finances?
Sure. Like I think you're right. There is a lot of content out there now more than ever before. Every reel you see, every other reel, CA someone, CA somebody, like they're suggesting so many things and all of that. But when it comes to personal finance, yes, saving money is very important. But you know what? Like to your point, right? Like if there is no money to save at all, what are you going to do then? So first of all, like the basic thing that anybody would tell you is that um don't live above your means. Like just know that this is what, like, can you afford a certain thing or not is a very legit question to ask yourself. And you I don't have any problem with EMIs. Okay, so if you want to buy something on EMI, absolutely go for it. But what is it for is important. If it is for prestige, or if it is for to look a certain way or something like that, maybe don't. And also, how I look at it, EMI is, if it is for an asset, I guess, like it's not like I can buy a house, like a 1-2 crore house, like straight out with money. And as so many of these finance gurus would say, that that's not the best way to do it. And I don't have the knowledge on how to intelligently spend your money. What I can tell you is how to look at it. So for me, first of all, credit cards. Let's talk about credit cards off the bat, because nowadays, like, there are so many companies, both banks and non-banks, everybody offering credit cards, loans at whatever rate they want and stuff like that. Educate yourself on that first. And how a credit card payment works. What is the minimum balance, what is the total amount due, what is on the statement balance, all of this something that you have to learn. If you don't know these things, don't get a credit card. Number one. Number two, there is nothing wrong with getting a credit card as long as you know how to use it. So one of the things that people think about credit card is, which I don't necessarily believe. First of all, credit card interest rates are extremely high, starting from at least 24%, which is a very high interest rate, right? So you don't want to take any loan on these cards. So everything that you are spending, let's say this month you are spending 10,000 rupees on your credit card, you have to pay back the 10,000. You can't pay the 10,000 back 2 months from now, and you can't pile it up. That's any, and even if you're paying a single penny for interest, I wouldn't consider it a smart way of using a credit card. You should be using credit card to maybe garner some rewards, maybe like see the benefits of how it would be useful, but not to put yourself in debt. Number one. Number two, when it comes to EMIs, there are different kinds of EMI: low cost EMI, no cost EMI, regular EMI, all of that. Educate yourself on that, and know if you are paying certain interest rate, see if that's something that makes sense for you. Okay, like if you're paying like a 500 rupees interest rate on a 10,000 rupees product, and that's giving you 6 months of peace of mind, then do it, absolutely. But if it is if you're paying exorbitant amount of interest rate and it's not making sense to you, don't do it. And there is no cost EMI. Also, like, know what you're getting yourself out into and how much it's going to cost you every month. So this is what I will tell about EMI. When it comes to the most basic of it all, which is how to divide your finances. First of all, you'll write down.
Before you talk about dividing the finances, number one is you told that it is okay to have credit cards. Why?
Why not? Like it's one of the major reasons why I have a credit card. For example, I extensively use my Amazon ICICI card. Okay, for most of my purchases, I use Amazon ICICI card, and all my Amazon purchases I use ICICI card. Now, if I spend 10,000 on it, I pay back the 10,000 that very month, because I don't pay any interest on it, because that's not what credit card is for. You're not supposed to pay interest rate. What are you paying it for? You're just using the card. And but I get a lot of cash back, right? Like every time, like for example, if I spend 10,000, maybe I'll get some 100 rupees, 200 rupees, which I can use it on Amazon. And I use Amazon a lot for a lot of things. My Sometimes it's for bulk buying certain tissues or stuff like that. I use Amazon a lot, and all of that is getting. So I'm essentially, with using credit card, I have a benefit, which is those rewards. And there are airline credit cards where you get miles on them. If you're a traveler, that could be helpful for you. And
What are the type of credit cards you use right now? Do you suggest people using multiple credit cards?
Depends. If you know your way around them, please use them. Please be smart about it. Do not pay interest on your credit cards. If you know all of these basic details, absolutely. I don't travel a lot, like I don't fly a lot. If I flew a lot, I would use airline credit cards as well. And my monthly expenses are not 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakhs for it to make sense for me to gain so much mileage that would give me a free ride. So consider all of those. What is the benefit you're getting out of it is extremely important.
So, what are
And
the credit cards you use?
I use only two cards.
One is Amazon.
One is Amazon ICICI card. Other one is HDFC Millennia card, which is the entry level credit card. So I use Millennia not for a lot of reasons. When I'm doing a no cost EMI on certain things, or if I'm helping out somebody with paying their appliance on a EMI basis, that's what I use that for. And the reward on that is also very high for me, because if I'm spending, I get reward points, and reward points are 1:1. So for every one reward point, I get 1 rupee back, and I can deduct that at the end. But I'm not very good at using credit cards, honestly speaking. I don't plan it properly and all of that. I use UPI for most part. So for everyday expenses, I use UPI. Unless it's like a online purchase, I do not use credit cards.
So, when you already have the money, like for example, if you want to buy a cooker of let's say 2,000 rupees, when you already have that 2,000 rupees, why do you want to
For
go
me,
for
like
it?
I wouldn't say I would buy for a 2,000 rupees, right? Like for a
Chalo,
2,000,
20,000.
let's say 20,000.
Okay.
So for me, if I'm buying a cooker, first of all, I should be able to buy it outright, is what I feel. For my personal sake, there are a lot of people who want to do it over a period of time, which is not against anything. They can do it that way. So how I look at it is, let's say there is a 20,000 worth of cooler. I want to buy a 20,000 cooler. I have 20,000. I can pay it right now and get it.
Yeah.
But if I spread it out for the next 10 months, for example, I took a 10-month EMI period with no cost, which is zero interest rate, but I'll have a processing fee of 200 rupees,
Yes.
depending from card to card.
Okay.
So 200 rupees, even if you consider it as interest, let's say that's the interest you
Okay.
are paying. For me, to not lose this 20,000 at a time, it makes much more sense to me, because at any point there is no way I'll default on this. The amount is so flexible for me, it's so suitable for me. Now I wouldn't suggest doing it on a 2 lakh one,
Oh,
because I can't pay 2 lakhs outright.
okay.
For me, that's a problem. I should be at all times, especially when it comes to appliances and which are not essential, which is just a want. I would want. What you can do alternatively is you can save every month. So if I want to buy like a phone which is 2 lakhs, for example, it's a 2 lakh phone, what I would ideally do is I'll save up a few months for that 2 lakhs, and then I'll take a no cost EMI still, so that I don't have that pressure of what if I default. I don't want that in my head at all.
So you suggest, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you already have the money, then take the EMI, it's okay. If you don't have the money,
I feel like that's already living above your means. Talking especially in terms of
Wants.
non-necessity items. If it is a phone, buy a phone. Like if you can afford a 20,000 phone, buy a 20,000 phone. If you can afford a 30,000 phone, don't try to show that you can afford a 1 lakh phone. Who are you showing it for, right? I think if you set that aside a little bit, you will be able to maximize the utilization, and it will be more useful. Like you're doing it for yourself, for your peace of mind, and that is very important, is what I feel. And that's what like I try to live by.
Wow. And but when it comes to appreciating items like house or land,
Yeah.
that
Then there is a there is some, I mean, opportunity cost is something there is there.
what is opportunity cost?
If you had 10,000 in your hand right now, you would, let's say you would hire somebody for helping you out at house,
Okay.
which is an everyday thing that you absolutely need.
Okay.
Instead, if you put this for buying an appliance, you will lose this. So
Correct.
this is the opportunity, this is the cost you are paying for that. So you have to think about it that way. If that makes sense to you, go for it. But if it is when it house and all of that, no, let's say 1 crore, no, there is a house that is 1 crore. If I were to put that, if I can invest that 1 crore somewhere and make more on earning interest than what I'm paying for interest, then it would make sense for me to put that, not take EMI out. If I take an EMI out, it should make sense that I use that money somewhere else and that's giving me something in return. Otherwise, I mean, house is such a emotional thing too. Like it's a very emotional thing for a lot of people. So I don't know if I can say take house as an example, maybe a car or maybe something like a something else, something huge.
Car.
Car, yeah, car. Let's go with a car. And there it makes, this example makes sense to me. If you're getting a very good interest rate, let's say you're getting a 9% or 8%, or if you're very lucky and all of that, and you get even lower, which is not running right now. But if you're getting any lower than that, go for it. Absolutely. If you can make like, simply put, on a 100 rupees, if you are paying 10% interest rate and you are making 11% interest somewhere else, do it. Do EMI. But if you're not doing that, then maybe not. Hold for a little while. Maybe make some money to put down payment and work that out and stuff like that.
You also mentioned UPIs. How do you use UPI?
UPI.
So because ever since UPI has become a thing, at first you don't carry cash these days. I don't. Next, you don't have track because your account, the UPI is directly connected with your bank account, and you have unlimited, like whatever money you have, it all accessible. So pehle to you used to take some of it out and then you used to go and then you used to be like, okay, I don't have money, so maybe I'm not now. But now that you have UPI, da 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 da. So how do you balance your UPI, or do you suggest people to use UPI? Because my mom is like, Ria, you don't use UPI at all.
I suggest using UPI. It's again like you. I feel like you need to know. I mean, I'm not the best person because I tend to overspend sometimes because of UPI, because of the ease of the transaction. It just makes it like click, click, and before you know it, the transaction is done. So now there is no going back. So I would say like a little bit of awareness, like of what you're spending and all. It's in self control a little bit. The other thing that I do to manage my everyday finances is I have different bank accounts. I have like 2 2 3 zero balance accounts. That means that you don't need minimum balance to have a bank account. So I have one. So let's say I get my salary in. So I would put some in my. So can we go back a little bit and I can explain you the structure of how the fine.
Please.
So let's say I get my salary in. I have only three things that I need to do. Number one is needs, which is necessities. Number two is entertainment. Number three is savings. I divide every expense I have into these three categories and these three categories alone. So now for savings, I have an account, a bank account for which will be a savings account where you can generate like very tiny interest, but still interest nonetheless.
More like FD.
Not FD, it's a savings account, it's a savings bank account, very little interest, nothing like FD is already not a lot, but in this though you'll make even little money, but at least something. So savings account that will generate a little bit of interest. And then there is the other one which is entertainment, which will be a zero balance normal account. And then there will be one more which will be for necessities, which will be a zero balance account. So every time I get salary in, I divide that money into these three categories, into these three accounts.
Wow.
Now, when I have UPI, this is where I was able to kind of understand how to work with it is, let's say I have 10,000 rupees in my spending account, like entertainment account, which includes me going out with my friends, eating out, spending some time with the family, something that I want to purchase for myself this month, and stuff like that. All of this comes under this entertainment budget. So when I'm going into this 10,000 rupees, all the amount I see for that month in that account is the 10,000. So I can, at all times, I know how much I have to spend for the rest of the month. So the same thing goes for necessities, which includes groceries, bills, electricity, rent, all of that. Now every time, like I see, I know how much money is left over in that account. So, and then savings though, it's untouched. You have to put it there and forget about it. And if you have any mutual funds and stuff like that, it should be directed from your savings directly.
Wow.
So stuff like this. So I divide this up into this, and it helps me at all times see where money is, how much do I have to spend on certain thing. If I have an impulse of like buying like some 15,000 worth of something, and then I'll see like, do I have it in my personal? No. Do I need to transfer it from my savings to personal and then make this? Then I need to think about, all of a sudden impulse is not an impulse anymore. The thought process is put into it, and then you can reassess a little bit and think that, hey, like, is it needed or not? I think this is the bare minimum you need to do for managing
What bank
finances.
accounts do you use for everything?
So I use one for it's I just wanted to have different bank accounts in different banks. So I have one HDFC, one Axis, one ICICI.
Savings is for?
Savings is in HDFC, and then everyday expenses is in ICICI, which is linked to my ICICI credit card as well, so that I know the credit card transactions that are happening in there. At all times I can see that, okay, this is what it is there, this is how much is in the credit card, so if I pay it off, then how much is left over, so that is there. And then access is for everyday spends, like, which is necessities, which is where I spend for my groceries, which is where I spend for all of this stuff.
Wow.
So dividing it up like this has helped me to manage it a little bit. I was very confused as to where all the money was going and how to, like, it felt like there was a lot coming in, and by the end of it I didn't have any left. And just to this whole process made it very easy for me to visualize what's happening where and when. And this is the minimum, right?
First step.
This is the second step. I'll tell you what the first step is. First step is, you need to at all times know where your money is going.
How?
You have to look at it. Like, there were months I used to write down each and every transaction in my Excel sheet.
Wow.
To figure out, like, how much money am I spending on Zomato, how much money am I spending on Amazon, how much money am I spending on Mintra, like if I'm buying clothes and stuff like that, and how much money I'm spending on like random things. And that was a huge eye opener for me. Like, for the first time I was seeing, like, oh my gosh, like 10% of my income is going to food delivery, 20% is going to just eating out. That was just like the
So did you do it monthly or daily?
every day, every transaction I wrote it. And the second the transaction is done, there is this app called Money Manager. I used to enter everything into that, and at the end of the month I used to see where is going what and all of that. And that has helped me a lot in understanding my spending pattern, and then where I need to adjust and where I need to stay intact. And then the second part comes where you divide it up, and then you assign a budget to everything. And then you see, based on this spending pattern, you know how much is going to cost what. Now you assign a budget and reassess, like, okay, is this making sense, is this not making sense? It's not going to be a one time all thing. You have to reassess adjust it based on what your income is.
If a person is earning, let's say, 30,000 rupees per month, what are the steps?
These are the steps I'm telling you. Like, number one is know where your money is going. Number two is divide it up into these three parts and see where you want what. See, I don't know, I can't give you a percentage
Because you don't know how much is going in the
I
house.
don't know how much is going into your house.
But what percentage do you think should go in the saving minimum every month?
I think 20 to 25%,
Oh,
at
wow.
least.
So about if the person is earning
I
30,000.
would say, like, at least to 35% should go into savings. I'm saying 25 is that fixed savings. You can't take anything out from there. It should go into your mutual funds or it should be in your emergency funds. That's it. And then there is the 10 to 20%, 10 to 15% buffer, which can be for your impulse purchases, which is where you can transfer it into your personal and then say that okay fine, this is something that I want to do this month, because at the end of the day we are making money to buy things for ourselves sometimes too, so we have to allow something for that as well. So and then rest of it is necessities and
So when a partner comes into the picture, then how does that work?
I think figuring out finances is a single most important thing when thinking of a long term relationship, is what I feel, because we all come from different spending patterns, different ways of looking at money altogether. Our relationship with money is very different as well. So sitting down and talking about it, about what your goals are for, what do you what why are you making money, is a question that every couple need to ask each other, is what I feel. And I'm not going to say that combine your finances and do everything. No, see what works for you. So I'll tell you like how me and my partner would do it. So what we do is we have the first bucket is there, which is our necessities. So we have certain budget. Let's say there is 10,000 budget for household, right? So 50,000 goes into his 5,000 goes into his necessities account, 5,000 goes into my
Oh, you
necessities
don't
account.
have the same necessity account.
We don't have a same necessity, because if we have joint account, there is a problem with UPI where only one person has access to it. So now we divide it into 5,000 to his, 5,000 to mine, and then every household expense that goes through him will be paid from that.
Okay.
Every household that happens with me will be paid through mine.
Wow.
And then we have separate personal, like for personal things where he pays for his personal stuff, and we have separate personal savings, and then we have joint savings as well. Which is where actually I think I forgot to mention that we have a joint savings account called Jupiter. There is a Jupiter, which is a digital savings app where all our joint savings come in, and we have a real time view of what our joint savings are, which where we can use it for vacation or making like a huge purchase, or if you're planning an event, all of that goes from there.
So if you want to go out and have dinner with your partner, it goes from there.
No, if we want to go out for a dinner, it goes from our entertainment budget. It can either go from our household budget, which is the necessities, or so we have in the entertainment we've divided that into multiple categories again, where if we are going for like partner, like with them together, then his will be uh we also divide that up into our personal accounts.
Oh wow.
And then if you're going out with on our own with our friends and all, that's a different budget again. So you have to see what's working for you and then do it. And you should always have autonomy over your own things. That's why it's very important that in a relationship it's important that you don't ask for permissions for certain. Let's say there is a limit. So for me and my partner, let's say the limit is 30,000. For till 30,000, you spend whatever you want, I spend whatever I want. We don't ask each other questions. After that, depending on what your salary is, whatever is coming in, after that you are like, hey, like I'm thinking of making this huge purchase of 50,000. What do you think about it? Then you discuss, and then you see like what you each other's point of view is. Then you decide if it works. So I think communication is very key and pivotal in that. And again, to go back to the point of what I was talking, like how like they have a different, let's say your partner is a sneakerhead and they want to spend some 20, 30, 40,000 on sneakers that for the love of god you can't understand. Okay, but still, like I'm sure, like if I want to buy a bag for 20,000, or if I want to buy an iPhone, the latest iPhone, he wouldn't understand it either. It's very important that we make space for those. So we need to talk about those things, the big spends. And when it comes to joint savings as well, you need to have a vision for where part, like there is only so much you can save for uh joint emergency fund. So there is rest, which can go to something that works for both of you, whether it's a vacation or home improvement or buying an appliance or a furniture or anything like that. All of that, it should you need to communicate. And it happens, you think that it would happen how many times? It has to happen at least once a month.
Wow.
So every first of month you sit, you figure this out, then you start your month.
Wow.
Has to happen. Fine, like you can be a little bit flexible with like the first 5 days or first 7 days and stuff like
But it
that.
has to happen
It
monthly.
has to happen. So you sit and you're like, this much money goes into this account, this much money goes into this account. You
Wow.
make all those transfers, you're set for the rest of the month. And we both have check-ins where like how much do you have left in your household budget, which is necessities budget, how much do I have, and based on that, do you think we should go out for dinner, yes or no, we decide. No, I don't think we have enough for that, so maybe not, let's just stay in, stuff like that. It's very important to discuss things like that.
And what about family? How do you do it with family? For example, if there's only one or two people earning in the family, then how does that look like?
I mean, I think it's a communication to be had. Like for example, there is a family of 4 people. Let's say all are earning age, right?
Okay.
Like everybody is earning age, but not everybody is earning. For example, you need to divide it up. You need to divide it up into saying like, hey, like this is how much that I get, and you have to make it. You can't say that. Ask me if you need anything. I feel like that's such an uncomfortable position for.
Wow.
See, if you made a decision for the family saying that I'll be the breadwinner for the family, I'll bring in the money, you can't make them ask you.
Fuck.
Sometimes,
So good.
and also there is a limit to that. If let's say like you give 10,000 for example, there is a family mother, let's say let's say it's just a father household, there's a single father household, and there is a daughter, there is a son, and there is another daughter, 4 people. All of them are earning age, but only 2 people are earning. Let's say only both sisters are earning, and father and the brother are not earning. Now how do you divide this up in this scenario, right? Let's say now father and the both earning people combined income, how much is it, and how much does go into all 4 accounts for personal budgets. So with this money, you do whatever you want, no questions asked. Anything over that, there is a pool of money that still exists that you can draw from, but that requires family consent.
Wow.
Stuff like that. You need to create systems that work for your family. That's what I think. And this is something that my father has taught me, is that you have to know where your money is going. Even a single rupee, even if it's 1 rupee, you need to know where your money, whether it's useful, not useful, doesn't matter. If you spend 20,000 on sneakers or a handbag or anything like that, it doesn't matter whether you're spending or not. You need to know it's happening, and it needs to happen very consciously. So for that to happen, you need to write down you have to consciously enter them somewhere, write them down somewhere, excel it somewhere. Something has to happen. That mechanism should happen to a point where it should be mentally, it needs to record that I'm spending this on this, I'm spending this on this.
Wow.
That is extremely important, financial mindset. I'm very grateful that my father has instilled this in us, and it comes very naturally to us, me and my sister. But I think that gives you a very healthy relationship with money as
Money,
well.
right? And what about what have you seen, like in the stories that you've heard and all of it? What mistakes do people do with their money?
I mean, I see the biggest one is the first point that I would go is like living above your means. That is something, and also that lack of communication itself. The especially in families, right? It's almost like people take it for granted that, oh, there is this money, anybody can take from it. Oh, just because she is or he is earning so much money doesn't mean that they get to have all the access and we don't get to have all the access. All of these are things that you sit around and talk about and clear it out. And I'm not telling it will happen once, like you just talk once and it's all done. That's not how it works. You have to talk constantly over and over again, and it should be an openly discussed topic. And the other thing is, people think talking about money is a taboo. I don't think it is. I think it is the most important thing that needs to happen. A lot of conflicts, especially within family, I feel like they happen because people don't talk openly about money. You never have an idea of what's happening, right? So you make assumptions. It's very human to do that. So it's very important that openly you talk about. Let's say you are making a lot of money, and at home people are like, why, what are you spending this money on? You have to be able to explain. You have to sit and say like, hey, I'm saving this because we need it for this nest egg. There is this for this, like if we are going on a vacation we need to, and rest of this is what's left off, let's split this. And also splitting doesn't necessarily have to be even, you know, like, because there is a lot of work put in to make this money, so by default that gives you a little bit more, right, I feel. I mean, again, it depends on how you look at it as well. So you can fix certain things, and like you can assign certain goals as well. So when you are earning money or when you achieve a certain goal, we'll increase this budget for you. And as a family you sit together and like figure this part out, and it should be open and it should be all ears. Like if a younger one is saying that no, that's unfair, you have to explain to them or meet them midway. Otherwise, like, it's family, like you can't fight over something, something as money which you're doing for the family. So you know, like, it won't make sense to like fight over something that you're doing for them.
Wow. And what about learning? Like if I want to buy a course, and in which category this does this come in?
Personal finance, I think, for sure, definitely personal finance. But again, like, I don't think this is something a lot of people teach, because I think especially when it comes to finance gurus and all, they assume that you already have this figured out. They tell you a lot about what to do with the savings part. A lot of people don't tell you about how to get to the savings.
And they talk in Greek, like not in like layman's language. Like, you know what, we are just starting. So
So I think this part is very important to figure out before, like, even credit cards. This is all advanced finance, credit cards and mutual funds, and what to do with savings and all of arbitrage, and all of these things are like such, like, government policies, taxes, and all of that. This is such a advanced finance, I feel. The basic comes down to how, what your spending habits are, how you're dividing them. Do you know where your money is going? Do you know why you're spending certain things on certain money on certain things? So I think this is what it really comes.
what are the top few tools that you use and suggest people to use?
Excel, like, Excel is your, like, Excel in the sense you can use Google Sheets, right? Like, one of the more easiest way for you, because you don't need advanced math or anything, it's just addition and subtraction for you. This is one of the best ways to get started.
Give us the format.
So the other tool is Money Manager as well. Money Manager is where you enter each expense individually, and once you, it's intuitive, like you can go in there and you can figure that out. But if you're doing it on Google Sheets, right?
So either Excel or Money Manager.
I mean, I would do both. So I would do you Money Manager because it's the everyday thing. Let's say I paid 10 rupees for a banana. I enter it, 10 rupees banana, and I categorize it into groceries. Categories already exist. So you just categorize that into groceries, and at the end of the month, you know, like, oh, groceries may I spend 100 rupees. For shopping, I spend 30 rupees. For this, I spend 500 rupees. Like, stuff like that. And that is what Money Manager is for. And when it comes to Excel, the same thing, you can do it on Excel as well. Instead of entering it on an app, you'll enter it on a Google Sheet, where every expense you write down, which is what my sister does. And she was able to figure out a lot of her finances through doing that. So on the other part, there is uh, budgeting. That is the first sheet that you're going to do, budgeting, where it's like, let's say there is I can share a format with you and maybe you can like add it in here somewhere. But let's say three categories: necessities, entertainments, I would say like necessities slash needs, wants, and savings. So wants is where entertainment comes in, necessities where, so in inside the necessities you have rent, you have electricity, you have Wi-Fi, you have maintenance, you have you have maid, you have within groceries, like you have meat and fish and all of that budget, and you have fresh vegetables, fruits, and stuff like that. You don't have to be that specific about it, you can club that in into single groceries thing. And then uh, there is also like something that come transportation that comes into that, and any insurances that you need to pay, health insurance and stuff like that. And OTT subscriptions, there is that. So these are all your fixed expenses. So even to, so yeah, this is the major thing. So now you budget it based on, like, let's say you've assigned 10,000 to it, how much is going into what. It doesn't have to be exact, of course. Rent, maintenance, all of Wi-Fi, all of this are going to stay constant. So now for electricity, let's say I assign 3,000 to 4,000 rupees for electricity, because in winters it's going to be lesser. In this month it's going to be in summers it's going to be lesser. In winters it's going to be, no, it's the other way around, because in summers there is AC and all of that. In winters you don't have that. So now it's adjusted and average. And then even when it comes to groceries, you can't be very strict about it, because you don't know how much is going to cost what. So that is something that you can be a little bit flexible with. And any additional thing that is left over, it should go back into your joint savings. And then when it's required, you can bring it back into this, and you should be able to analyze a little bit that, oh, this is where we spent, this is where it needed adjusting. And there should always be a repairs budget. You might not have a repair this month, you set aside like 5,000, but next month if a pipe broke, you have to get 10,000. Where are you going to all of a sudden get? You can't break savings for that. So you need to have a reserve for stuff like that. So something that you need to include it in the next.
So the first sheet is all about budgeting, where you sit down with your family or your partners, figure out
Correct.
key in this month what is going to happen, and the next tab is like journal entry or transactions, whatever it is.
Correct, that's it. And
Date what in
correct,
out.
exactly,
Okay, that's it.
exactly. And within the first sheet, these are necessities, and then you have needs, within which you have like going out with people. And then there is, I believe there is personal budgets come into this as well within entertainment, like personal budgets where you get certain amount, you get certain amount kind of way. And then there is the last, I think there is just a miscellaneous thing that goes. And then within savings, you have fixed savings that has to stay in bank account. And then there is savings that goes into your investments. And then there is joint savings within that. So this is how you divide it up. And then what I do is, on the right side of this whole thing, I say, like, at the beginning of the month, this is how much money should be transferred to, let's say, Axis. This is how much you transfer to HDFC. This is how much you transfer to ICICI. This is how much is going to be in Jupiter. Now all you have to do in the beginning of the month is transfer these money into this account. And if there is anything new, let's say you got a new subscription, you add it in. That will be added in.
Wow.
So in the beginning, it's a tough process to set up. Tough in the sense to remember and to do it and all. But once you start doing it, it will become second nature to do it, just shifting things up and all.
Wow. Any other advices for anybody out there who's trying to figure out their personal expenses?
I'll say one thing for couple.
Yes.
If you're combining finances, especially for couple, if you're combining finances, I would suggest doing it proportional to your income. The contribution should be proportional.
Wow. It shouldn't be 50-50.
It shouldn't be 50-50. I disagree with the whole 50-50 thing, because it doesn't make sense to me logically and all. So, for example, your partner is making 1 lakh and you're making 50,000, and then they'll give, what is,
It should be more like give the percentage of your income than the
the
amount.
the person who's making 1 lakh will pay for 70%, and the person who's making will pay for 30% of expenses, which will come out to 100. Now all the money is combined anyway, but what goes into your personal savings, what goes into your personal expenses, that will vary.
That will vary. Yeah.
There, that's when it's once you get into it, no, I feel like it's almost addicting to do it.
Wow.
But it really simplifies.
But it is also very scary, right? I'll tell you why. Because I am so afraid of looking at my transactions right now. I know that I'm earning well, but I don't know, I'm not becoming wealthy. I'm not being rich. I'm still dependent on every 30th or every first. There's no like enough liquid amount to fall upon. So, what is, what was my question?
Yeah, you just need to why is it that way, like you are so afraid of
Right.
looking at
Yeah,
finances.
because I'm very scared. I'm
Yeah.
extremely scared and terrified to just look at it. What should we do? Just start.
Do it anyway. Like, it is scary. Like, it is extremely scary. Like, the first month that I started doing this, like, as an independent adult and all of that, it was very scary. Like, how much money is going into certain things, and it was appalling, to be honest. And then, you need to know to fix it. Like, what are you gonna fix if you don't know what you're doing, right? And also, like, to something that I wanted to say when you are talking about that was, um you like I was saying, if you know where you're spending your money, you wouldn't be so scared. If you're intentionally, consciously spending money, and you wouldn't be that scared. And when you're telling like you're not building wealth, it won't happen automatically. You have to plan it. Any goal, any ambition, you have to plan it to make it work. This manifestation and all, I truly believe it, but I believe that works only when you put in the work. See, telling yourself every day that I have to make 10,000 by the end of the month, I have to make 10,000 by the end of the month. What I think manifestation does is it puts it in your head that, oh, I have this goal of 10,000. What am I going to do today to make that happen? I think that's how manifestation becomes reality, not necessarily that magically there is something that's, I think it's pushing us towards that goal, and in return, we are getting the benefit of it. That's why I think manifestation is very important. But if you're just writing it down that I have to make 10,000 every month and you're not doing anything, how will it happen?
All right. So if I want to get, just to sum up the entire conversation, if I want to get started, the
Yeah.
number one thing that I have to do is uh, figure out where my money is going. That's
Correct.
the number one
Number
step.
one step.
Number two is then have allocations, like three different
Correct.
accounts or something, in a way where I know that if something is absolutely wrong, that's when I can touch my savings account. If not,
Correct.
that does not exist. And then budgeting, having like tracking the transactions every single day,
Yeah.
and I'll be much better than how I am this month.
Correct.
Right? It's a good
Absolutely.
start. And
Give it
then
a year.
give it a
Give
year.
this process a year.
Wow.
And you're going to make a lot of tweaks in this year. Like, because sometimes you budget wrong. You think that it's only going to, let's say you go to a concert, it's going to cost like, what, the Coldplay concert is like 15,000 per ticket. What are you going to do with that, right? It has to come from your budget. Now you have to adjust it to the next month. Okay, I'm spending 15,000 this month on this, but next month I'll only spend 5,000 on entertainment. So you have to tweak it and do it accordingly. And one other thing that I would also, sorry, I know that you want me to give you a summary, and I promise I'll give you in the end. But one other thing that I want to add here is the fixed expenses part, especially OTT subscriptions, EMIs, and stuff like that. The best way to keep track is connecting these to a next sheet. There will be another sheet where you list down all your OTT commitments, all your EMI commitments, right? Now every time you cancel an OTT, you remove it from this tab. That's it. Every time you add an OTT, you add it to this tab. That way, it will automatically fix it there. You have to make it so simple and foolproof that it shouldn't feel like work. So stuff like that is very important. So to go back to the conversation, let me sum it up.
Before you sum it up, now you have got another question. No, it's okay. What about these due dates? Because credit card company wants us to forget the due dates. How do you keep track of all these due dates, the EMIs, the rent payment? How do you keep a track of all of
So
this?
rent payments and anything that happens, right? I pay it on the first 7 days. Anywhere I have flexibility, I pay it on the first 7 days.
How? I mean, how do you remember it? Because people tend to forget these things also. Like, do you have a reminder set or?
No, like it's just built in my system that there are certain things that I have to pay by the 7th.
Okay.
So I pay them. And then when it comes to EMI, like credit card due date, this is so tricky, so tricky. So this is something that I struggled with a lot because it used to mess with my budgeting system. So what I've learned to do is, whether the credit card is due or not, I make the payment on 31st every month.
Okay.
By the end of the month, whatever is there, 31st, all the expenses are cleared out. So when I'm making the payment next time, it will be for the next month alone.
Okay.
Like that has helped me a lot in terms of credit card payments, because
How
sometimes
do you make the credit card payments?
I used to use cred, but like, I don't see value in it anymore. Now I just use Google Pay to pay it directly through Google Pay, or I just pay it from directly from their app.
And how do you set the limit? Like, what is the credit card limit? Can you pick it, or does the bank does it according to your?
Bank picks it for you based on your credit score and all. Bank picks it for you. Let's say sometimes they give credit card enhancement, like limit enhancements and stuff like that. You can do it. So the thing with, you need to know a little bit about credit score, which is not really important to personal finance in any way right now. As long as your primary goal as a basic person here is, you have to make the credit card payments on time. That is extremely important. when it comes to credit scoring, right? One of the things, CIBIL score, and there are multiple scores nowadays, but let's say for credit scoring, which is going to be very important for you when you want to take out loans and stuff like this. It will determine your interest rate, so it's very important that you have a good credit score. Where the credit enhancement help is the utilization percentage. Let's say you have your monthly expenses are only 50,000 that you're going to put on credit card. For a 1 lakh limit card, your credit utilization is 50%, which is a
Good
lot,
or bad? Which is good or bad?
which is okay, but it's a lot. But imagine that the credit card comes, you've been making payments very well, and credit card company is like, oh my gosh, they're very reliable, let us give them more credit so that they can use if they want. They give you 5 lakhs credit. Now you take the 5 lakhs credit limit, you still pay only 50,000. Now all of a sudden your utilization percentage has come down, which will help you with boosting your credit score. Stuff like that.
So I want this video to only be about personal expenses because you have so much to share and I really want, but it would be for some other day.
So let's just sum up the
Summarize it.
basic
Yeah.
personal expenses. Number one, write down all your expenses at least for 6 months. Write down all your expenses till to a point where it should become second nature to register that.
Yeah.
Register that you're paying something on something. That's number one. Number two is divide your expenses into three categories. Whatever they are, they should be under these categories. And I don't think there are more categories that exist above this, over this. If there are, you can put it another category. I personally choose to do it in three bank accounts. You can choose it if you're a heavy UPI user. You can do it under in three categories. If you're a credit card user, you can do it in three credit cards.
Okay.
But having separate accounts will help you understand where it is at all times, is what I feel. And the third one is, if you have fixed expenses, making it foolproof and connecting it to your initial sheet will help you out. And that's it. That's essentially all you need to do. First sheet will be all your expenses. The second sheet will be budgeting. Third sheet will be fixed expenses.
Would you mind sharing the template with us?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like, why not, right? I'll just remove all my finances and give you, and you use however you wish.
I mean, we would not mind if we could see that data also.
Absolutely not. Like, with all this talk, you would think that I have so much, but
Yeah.
I'm building. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So yeah, that's it then. Thank you so much, Miss Lucky Aechuri.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much, and I think it was very interesting.
I know, right? I think it was very interesting.
I think people will gain a lot of knowledge from this, and even if one person changes his or her life, and I think it would be me for sure. But yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.